Might be a drum. Oh no, big bass. Easy, man. Yeah! Alright guys, here we are on a small lake in Oklahoma. Water temperature 57 degrees. It's probably been up to 58 or 9. We've had a few cold fronts come through. We're fishing the lower end of the lake right now. It's clear water. We're going to move up toward the dirtier end of the lake later in the day. I think the stained water is probably too cold this morning. We're going to let it warm up a little bit, let those fish get active, and then we'll move up there and start fishing for pre-spawners, maybe even a few spawners up in the dirtier water when it warms up. Sunshine, you get in the pocket, it's going to warm that dirty water up a lot faster than it will this clear water. So we just started out on a riprap. Never go wrong with riprap. You know, fish use them as highways to get to their spawning areas. So I think in this color water, it's a good starting point anyway. Not a big one, but probably a male. What this is a it's a perfect little transition right here. We just come off of a flat right to a little steep stretch right here. Went from pea gravel to bluffy chunk rock, and this is kind of the last deep water before it gets to the shallows. Slow down, I guess. That'll tell you something right there. Slow down. I pretty much stopped and spinnerbait started falling and he freaking whacked it. That's a good one. Probably ain't spawning yet. Probably thinking about it though. Well, spinnerbait's always good in pre-spawn. It's good year round, but it's always good in pre-spawn. When the water's cold, fish are eating shad, they're either feeding or spawning, or even if they are spawning, they'll hit a spinnerbait out of instinct a lot of times, you know. It's better probably in clear water when it's cloudy and breezy, but we got a little bit of wind, so it's not bad. And who don't like catching fish on a spinnerbait? I mean, really. Early spawn or pre-spawn, and even throughout the spawn, because fish use them both ways. They use them going and coming both. So anytime you can find even if it's a chunk rock to bluff or chunk rock to gravel or gravel to bluff, whatever, there'll always be fish using that for a highway. It's about like a riprap or a bridge or whatever, you know. Moving in and moving out. Big fish, I think. Might be a drum. Oh no, big bass. I'll get us away from the bank here a little ways. Hopefully he stays on. Easy, man. Very nice. That is a pretty fish right there, healthy. We're to the back of this bluff right here toward the last deep water before it leads up into the shallows where they're going to spawn. Same thing, just throwing a spinnerbait on shallow wood. Even though this looks like a real deep bank, it's only about 7-8 foot deep right against the bank. He is fat, or she is. Pretty one. See her tail, she's been somewhere trying to find a bed, or probably right there in that pocket, and it got cool and she probably pulled right back out here on this bluff. That fish right there come on this, this is a Cara head turner rod. I like to throw it with a 1/2 ounce or a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait. This is just a 3/8 with a number 5 Colorado blade on it. This water is not very deep, so that's kind of the reason we switched to a little lighter spinnerbait. And the water's pretty clear, so The 5 is probably better than the 6. Water temperature is still 57 degrees. It's probably been in the 60s in here. We've had a couple cold fronts, cool it off. That fish was up there sunning. It was right on the bank. If you're watching very close, every once in a while you'll see where you kind of twitch your rod. What you're doing there is giving the bait a little extra action. You know, if you're reeling a spinnerbait along and there's a fish following it, a lot of times if you twitch it just a little bit, make it look a little bit different, that's when the fish will eat it. You know, it's nothing but personal preference. You can probably throw it out there and wind it in and catch fish, but that's when I get bit a lot of times, is whenever I twitch that rod. As soon as that spinnerbait hits the water, if you give it a little bit of a twitch or a little fast retrieve, it gets the blade spinning immediately. That way you're not reeling it 3 or 4 foot out of the strike zone before it starts doing its thing. The old, that was nice. The old jig, cold clear water. Green pumpkin orange. To me, I like to throw a spinnerbait when it's a little bit stained at least. This water is clear right here. This is jerkbait or jig or swimbait water, you know. If I'm throwing spinnerbait shallow, I like it to be stained water at least. And this water is pretty clear. This is just a little main lake cut we came in. And it's got a rocky bank right here. Looks like it stains up on back toward the back. We'll throw a jig right here a little bit and then switch back to a spinnerbait when we get back there in a little dirtier water. Can never go wrong with a jig in the springtime, or any time for that matter. Don't give up on it too quick. I saw that fish come out and eat that spinnerbait. Reel it right by that stump and he flashed on it. Another male. The little cold fronts we got may have kept the females out there on the steeper banks or out there at the mouth a little more. That sucker was shallow now. I mean, when my spinnerbait hit the water, he had it. Shallow. About as shallow as you could get right there. He had to be watching it as it's coming through the air. Did you see that? That's crazy. Yeah, that would have been a... He got it good too. So we came in and we started catching fish on a jig because I thought it was a little too clear for the spinnerbait I'm throwing. So we caught 2 or 3 little fish. Well, as we got back in here, it kind of dirtied up. The water temperature is about a ½ degree warmer in here, so that may be why. I didn't think they would be on the mud with it being 56 degrees, but it's almost 57. And they end of April or middle of April, so it's time of year, full moon. I would say a lot of them are back here and been back here waiting to spawn. They may have just pulled off a little ways and they're moving back up as the day goes on. This warmer water, they're probably getting up there trying to spawn. Like when I'm throwing a 1/2 or a 3/8 spinnerbait, I don't want nothing with a big paddle tail on it. I usually just throw a regular old single tail grub. Nothing special, 3 or 4 or 5 inch grub. That way it don't have as much pull. It'll make that 3/8 spinnerbait roll over if you put a big paddle tail trailer on it. Water's a little bit clearer as well, so I either like just a grub or just a straight tail trailer if I'm throwing a 3/8. It makes it stay upright better. We just said there ought to be a big one laying there. There's a big old stump laying there. Not a giant by no means, but it's a good fish. I should have just slung him in. Definitely a nice fish. Nice, healthy Oklahoma bass. Fat-bellied sucker. All right, guys, I think we're going to close with that one. Thanks for watching.